All right, I'm about to go on my first ride of this Pace 4. And even though the frame's probably a little too small for me, we're gonna give it a go. And then, when I get back, I'm gonna go and break down the difference that I think, as far as the riding between the Pace and the Level. What is going on, everybody? This is Larry from Great Lakes E-Bikes, and behind me is the Pace 4, the newest bike from Aventon, one of the newest bikes. We have the Adventure 3 on the way any day now here, coming to the store. But for now, I do have a Pace 4 and a Level 3, part of the new lineup from Aventon, and I've been getting a lot of questions, especially around the Level 3 versus this new Pace 4. They're only $100 difference in price, and a lot of people are wondering, do I save $100 and go with this Pace? Is it that much better to go to a Level 3? Why is one called the 4 and one called the 3? Well, all of that stuff and more we're going to hopefully conquer today. But first, we got to finish building this Pace 4. Let's do it. In this box is everything that comes with the Pace 4. Manuals, pedals, we're going to need that. One of the nicer toolkits that come with bikes nowadays. Of course, you got I won't even show you that. That's just reflectors. And then they always throw in a pedal wrench with all but one or two of their bikes. So that's a good thing to have. And then, of course, you got your charger and the new system with the Pace 4, the Level 3, the new Adventure 3, what they're all running off of. They're all using a new charger. They're all using a same, if not similar, battery. I believe they're all interchangeable now, which is kind of cool. And the biggest jump of any e-bike brand, I'd say, is no more keys. You don't need a key to remove the battery anymore. It's all digitally. Excuse me. You can either do it on your phone or via the menu screen of the bike. They're the only brands that I know doing it right now, and it makes sense. I've lost keys before. It's not hard to do. In fact, especially in a store like this where I have, 30s plus e-bikes here, I've lost them. I have. But now you don't need keys anymore. So that's pretty cool, I think. And everything's just kind of streamlined. But, one little caveat to that, because some people are like, oh, I don't want to need an app to ride my bike. Luckily, of course, you can just hop on and ride. You don't need the phone. It just helps you tap into a whole new feature suite, basically. So now we're going to get this built and see what it looks like next to the Level 3. Okay, just got done building the Pace, and let's just say I built a Level and a Pace today. Wow, that Pace was easy to build. Oh my goodness, it was nothing. Granted, you didn't have to put any fenders on, most of the stuff came already on it. It was literally just straightening out the stem and handlebars and putting pedals on. That's it. The new packaging that Aventon's doing across their whole lineup is as a person who builds bikes all day, it's amazing. That's my favorite part about Aventon is how easy it is to build their bikes. Okay, I've got the Level 3 here, and I've got the Pace 4. Let's look, first of all, what's the same on both of them? Okay, so I have with me, this is a size large Level 3 in the kind of new sandstone color, but it is a step through. So I wanted to go step through, step through for this comparison. And first of all, let's just talk paper. We both have literally the exact same 500 watt motor on both bikes, the same exact battery on both bikes. They both get about 70 miles of range. So as far as the computer, the motor, and the battery, really the only difference is this right here. So this screen on the Level 3 is similar to the older Levels and the older Paces and the older Adventures. And when I turn it on, you'll see it looks very close to how it has always looked. Now, on the new Pace, we'll turn this one on. We have this newer, smaller, more compact screen, which some people I definitely could see how they'd like it. It makes you more in tune with, you know, what you're doing on the road, on your actual drive, instead of staring at a screen right in front of you. Now, it's still a really nice, crisp screen. It's just, you know, literally a quarter the size. Yeah, and I could see people going either way with that, you know. Some people like the big screen, but, you know, it's not like you're losing anything. It's not like it's a cheap screen. It's not like it's a, you know, black and white screen. You still have a full color screen. It still has all the, you know, vivid pixel density you'd hope for, and it's a great screen. It's just, you know, way, way, way smaller. Now, that's the only difference when it comes to, again, the battery, the motor, and the computer. Now, on both bikes, you are getting the suspension seat post. You can see here too. The seats are a little bit different, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. And outside of that, you know, that's probably where the similarities end. And up next, I want to talk about riding geometry, because obviously that's the biggest difference between these bikes. They're gonna feel the same amount of power. Again, I wish both of them probably had a 750 watt motor, just, you know, for the sake of being at a bike store and being able to compare them to our other bikes. I love these bikes, but at the end of the day, on paper, you see that 500 watt and you're comparing it to something with a 750 watt, and it just, in comparison, you're automatically gonna think it's less than. Granted, you get on and ride and you feel like, okay, it's exactly what I'd hope for in a bike. I just wish on paper, you know, I could say it's 750. Hopefully that makes sense, because it's underselling the bike in my opinion. So as for the riding style of this bike, you're definitely gonna have the higher handlebars and a lower seating position overall, which means you can sit more straight up and you're gonna feel comfortable as a more, you know, relaxed riding style. Now, this one, it's a bad example because this is a large frame versus smaller frame. However, even when it is all the way down on the smaller frame, it's still more level to the handlebars. And that's because it is more of a commuter style, traditional, you know, road bike style, if you will. You're meant to be a little more hunched over the handlebars. Classic bike riders might prefer this. Long rides, it's gonna be a more, I guess, traditional position. However, for putzing around, for having just a fun kind of lackadaisical ride in a casual stance, you're probably going to prefer something like this, which is a lot more comfortable. So to sum up geometry here, really what it comes down to is if you're into a more traditional, maybe you come from the mountain biking world or the road biking, and you are used to being a little more over the handlebars, you're going to love the way the Level 3 sits. However, if you're maybe even, I don't want to say older, but you're preferring like something that's going to be easier on your back, and then just really more going to put your weight here instead of up here, you're going to love the Pace. Now remember, there's only $100 difference between these bikes. So what all do we get for that $100? Well, we already talked about this bigger screen. You get that. You get front suspension. You get a rear rack and fenders. And right there, that's easily $100 worth of accessories, especially when you add it onto the Pace. You know, another key thing that you get that I think is a big missed opportunity on the Pace is you don't have this articulating stem anymore. You have this standard stem. Granted, because of the way these handlebars are now, they can tilt so much that you still have a lot of play you can work with. But not having that height difference, or the way that, you know, you can bring this in with these articulating stems, I really wish I would have seen that on the Pace. It's just probably the only thing in my opinion right now that this is really missing. A couple other quick benefits of the Level here too. They have these upgraded Magura brakes. They are so clean looking, they're so nice, they're really sleek, they perform extremely well. There's only one cable coming out of it instead of needing, you know, two like in these brakes. You can see here there's the kill switch as well as the fluid cable. And Tektro brakes are great. I'm not dissing these at all. I just really like the new Magura ones, and you know, since they're such a close price point, I was expecting to see it on the Pace. Now the final note of similarity is if you've been following Aventon's new technology, basically if you're seeing this module on it's the new controller that comes on all of the new Aventons. What it means is you now have access to their new suite. First of all, there's 4G connectivity, comes free for a year on both of these bikes. In fact, all the new Aventon lineup. And what that gives you is a live GPS of your bike and tons of other security features. There's this locking mechanism that's part of your hub in both of these bikes. And just, you know, that's barely scratching the surface as far as the security features on these things. They now both have alarms, they have passwords, they have remote locks in your phone, the geofencing that we talked about, in addition to seeing where your bike is via a GPS. They are fully decked out when it comes to tech. And the final really cool thing about all these new Aventon bikes is that you can fine tune the torque sensor. It is incredible. And then what I like too, that is maybe counterintuitive to most people, is there's only 3 modes now. And most bikes, the standard is 5. But because you can fine tune these 3 modes in the app, it's kind of great you only have 3, because you pick the 3 modes and you dial them in exactly what you want to be, and you're rarely going to need more than 3 because you fine-tuned them yourself. You don't need to find those in-betweens anymore, which is awesome. The way that these torque sensors are working on these bikes now, 3 is plenty. Like I was nervous about it at first, but I think it helps simplify it for most riders. And it goes back to that kind of peace of mind of just hop on and ride. I'm gonna do 1 session of making this thing like totally customized to how I want it, but then I'm good to go because this bike is now mine and I know how it's gonna perform. All right, I'm about to go on my first ride of this Pace 4. And even though the frame's probably a little too small for me, we're gonna give it a go. And then, when I get back, I'm going to go and break down the difference that I think, as far as the riding between the Pace and the Level. Oh yeah, my first note is this seat is much more comfortable. Not that the Level's that bad, but I like this. Bouncy bounce. That was a good ride, I'm not gonna lie. Well, my camera died, so let's get back to this conclusion here. So as I was kind of wrapping up and saying is, where do you get the Level versus where do you get the Pace, or who gets what bike? I would, first of all, recommend if you have a dealer close to you, trying to ride both, because a lot of it is hard to say in words. Rather, getting on the bike, you know, you'll know right away. So if you can, try to check that out. Especially if you're in Michigan, just type in Great Lakes e-bikes. We keep these in stock for people to ride for that exact reason. However, if you can't do that, I'll kind of do my best here, right? So with the 4, again, I felt in control. I felt really comfortable. It was great for casual riding on the slow speeds, but it was totally fine when I kicked it up a notch and was trying to go faster too. And in fact, it got up there really quick, and it was pretty zippy and kind of fun to zip around and kind of do some zigs and zags, which is awesome. So outside of that, there's, I guess, one more reason you'd prefer the Level, and it is if the straight bar versus step-through frame is a non-negotiable for you, and that is because on the Pace, there's only a step-through. So on the Level, it does come in a straight bar bike that is pretty slick. I built one of those this morning and already sold it, so I don't have it to show you, but it was in that new black color and it looks really, really sharp. So something like that is actually really cool, especially if you prefer, again, that geometry of being more over the bike. It's a slick bike. However, I like, you know, just to sum this up and say it for the 1000th time here, I really like the Pace. So if you were kind of on the fence and you want to save $100 here, you won't regret it. The Pace is solid. So with that, I'm going to end it here, and thank you guys, of course, for watching this video. And if you have more questions, especially around the brand's Velotric and Ad Motor, or Aventon, you know, the main one we're talking about in this video, I have access to all of them. So if you have questions, please let me know if there's some you want me to do more in-depth reviews of or anything like that. Let's do it. That's what this channel is here for now. So just let me know and I'll get those made. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.